Cumberland, Lincoln, Blackstone. You're all part of the Blackstone Valley. How y'all doing? Good. I didn't hear you. How y'all doing? Fantastic. Are you excited? Yes. You should be. Because we're planning on some things that will turn your hair gray, curl your hair, but make you pay attention is the first thing. My name is John Reynolds, and I'm from the cultural epicenter of the known world, Woonsocket, Rhode Island. Tonight, we're going to have a few things that we want to bring to your attention, and as I'm looking over the agenda, we have some really cool things. I wanted to bring your attention to a few things, though. On the back table are some resources you really need to get a hold of, because if you leave here without getting them, you're not going to know what's going on as far as having a tangible piece of paper in print that lets you know who's responsible for the mess we're in. If you're out of school, you're still going to do some studying and take quizzes every single day of your life. This is the world's smallest political quiz. If you've not taken it online yet, you can have it at your own leisure, and it's on the back table too. You know, the Tea Party is making waves. All of you are making waves. Tonight we have representatives from the media. We have Dan Badani, his cousin Jason Badani, and Uncle Phil Davis from WALE 990 AM radio. Sit down, Dan. I haven't called on you. Dan and I go way, way back because, for those of you who are in the know, I used to be in professional wrestling, and Dan was my tag team partner at some time. I'd like to say hello to Terry Gorman out there from RILLE. Welcome tonight. That's right. Now, for those of you who look at the media, look at the papers, watch TV, listen to radio, you'll know that even in Rhode Island, we're creating waves that make people very uneasy. Here's the latest piece of evidence as I hold up this rag. They're talking about us, folks. They're talking about you. They're talking about everybody who's a part of America who believes in our values. Is this right?
No.
Are you going to stand for people calling us terrorists?
No.
Well, you know what? The media thinks we are, but they also think that we're unorganized. We're going to prove them wrong. Because tonight, I'm going to show you how organized we can be. I know that we have an important date coming up on Thursday, but that's something in the future. Tonight, we have to worry about tonight. And so, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Bill Perry, who's responsible for getting us this hall. Thank you, Bill. We also have the chairman of the Rhode Island Libertarian Party, Mr. David Bebo. And David's going to share a video presentation in just a few minutes, but right now I want to turn it over to Kevin Ryan and Sue Wynn, our Blackstone Valley Party leaders.
A few weeks ago, I heard the Obamacare vote was going to be held in 2 days, so about 48 hours notice, a dozen of us rented a van, and we went down to D.C. We left at 3 in the morning on Saturday morning, and we made signs and stuff on the way down there. We ranted and raved and chanted and said no, no, no to Obamacare, and then of course they ultimately had the vote, and Obamacare was enacted. And our lives are going to, I believe anyway, radically change in a way that we're not prepared for. They're going to be reaching into our pockets, they're reaching into the business people's pockets who employ us, and they're going to be taking control of our own personal decisions in many ways that isn't even quite spelled out yet. In fact, they don't even know yet. They have committees to figure this out. So anyways, the only way to stop this sort of thing from happening and to modify their plans is to vote them out. And so when the vote took place in Washington, D.C., I was thinking, like, how do we fight this sort of thing? We can't, obviously, there was 30 or 40,000 of us on the lawns of the Capitol building, and they didn't care. So if we mobilize tens of thousands of people and they don't listen to us, the only way they'll listen to us is if we vote them out and then they watch on the television versus being in the Capitol building itself enacting the laws. So I came up with this idea, and it's no intellectual breakthrough, it's real basic. That the way we vote them out is by getting groups like this started in every town and in every neighborhood, and we win the votes in our districts. We field candidates in the districts where we don't have good candidates that we like, and we vote for those people, or we vote out the people that we don't like, and we basically take over the General Assembly and our own representation in Washington, D.C. And it requires that people burn calories. It requires people to get off the couch, start meetings. For example, Bill is responsible for bringing 20 people out here the first time. He handed out flyers, he made photocopies, he went to the Stop and Shop and the Dunkin' Donuts and whatever else. He talked to people. It's not rocket science, it just requires a little bit of gumption and a little bit of calories. I don't know, when you spend an hour a night or something? Yeah. About an hour a night for, a little bit of time.
When I got the calories to spend.
And you got yeah, a little bit of pasta goes a long way. So really, we need more groups and more people in more towns and villages, and ultimately down to the voting districts. I handed out some flyers here. These are your Senate district maps and your representation district maps. There's 4 or 5 districts between Lincoln and Cumberland, and we need to start a group in each district and get out the vote in those districts. It also helps, obviously, to know who to vote for and against, and Mr. Bebo here has a lot to say about that. So anyway, people have to get engaged, people have to not be shy and start groups and attend groups, and when we leave here tonight, people have to go home and think, what am I going to do? And you have to be willing to spend the calories. If you're not willing to get up, get out, and do something, just a little bit, it's not going to work. You have to get up, get out, and do something. So anyway, so I'm going to hand this over to Dave. He's got a lot to say about what he knows about who's good and bad in the General Assembly, and of course his own candidates. You're running with District 22. District 22 Senate, and then we'll come back to how we get out the vote and what we do about basically voting out the bums that are putting us in this mess. So I'll hand this over to Dave. And,
excuse me, will I put this projector like 3 hours ago? Okay, I'm sure everybody knows that the big problem in the state of Rhode Island is probably the public employee unions. That's where basically all of our money goes. It's not really unions per se. The general union member isn't really a problem. It's the public employee unions, because basically they can give money to the representatives who vote on their raises, their pension benefits, and everything else. That doesn't happen in the private sector. Private sector unions are a little different. The market forces usually hold union pay so that the company can still be competitive, although that didn't quite work with General Motors. Oh. Yeah, I told you I only bought it 3 hours ago. So basically, state employee salaries are really not that out of line with the private sector. The problem is the benefits and the pensions. How many here get pensions of like 80% of your last 3 years' pay? Anybody? Well, that's the way the state pension system works. It's based on your last 3 years' pay, and of course they work a lot of overtime, and police and fire, usually what they do is they don't retire, they go out on disability, because then it's tax-free on top of that. Social Security, social service programs are a big problem also. I mean, Rhode Island has some of the highest welfare benefits in the country. I think 10% of the people on medical assistance live right in Woonsocket. the state. And by trade, I'm a pharmacist, and I've got so many stories of fraud and abuse in the welfare system. It's incredible. I was working in Woonsocket, and had went on medical assistants wanting to get 6 months supply of their medicine. And I told them, no, you can only get a month's supply at a time, and you can get it refilled, so you have to come back every month. She didn't like that idea, so she went home and called her social worker. The social worker called me about an hour later and said, no, you have to give her 6 months supply of her medicine.